So we've got 18 new members of the Forbes 400 this year. Most of them are in tech and social media. Not all of them, though. But let's talk first about one of the more interesting guys from the social media tech world, Reid Hoffman.
Yeah, Reid made the list this year for the first time thanks to LinkedIn's IPO. It's, LinkedIn is the kind of adult, grown-up version of Facebook, social network. It's business-oriented, more like putting your resume and connections. And it's interesting that it makes sense that Reid has a networking company because his personal network in Silicon Valley is incredible.
We've got another new member. Claire, tell us about
Mark Pincus. And this time last year, we estimated that he'd be a future Forbes 400 member and put him with a net worth of $850 million.
We actually did the same with Reid Hoffman, too.
Right. And
Billionaires
since
in the
then,
making.
he's obviously done incredibly well because we're putting him now worth $2 billion. Zynga, I'm sure you guys all have Facebook. You've probably seen Farmville pop up in your news feed and just X'd it off because it can be quite a nuisance. But apparently some people really enjoy those games. So Farmville, Mafia Wars, Cityville, that's Zynga, all these social games. Pincus is also a member of this kind of little Silicon Valley group that have invested in lots of different projects. So his stake in Facebook, he was an early investor, is actually worth about $100 million.
Jim Breyer, the Facebook investor, he's been involved with, not with Zynga, but with Sean Parker. Is he investing in Spotify?
Yeah, Sal's invested in Spotify, yeah.
Right, and Sean Parker's another newcomer.
Yeah, it's a newcomer. There's actually another interesting connection between Sean Parker and Mark Pincus. When Parker was 15, he interned for one of Pincus's startups called, it was called Freeloader, a DC-based company. And then later on, Pincus invested in Napster, and obviously now they're back together with the close connection between Zynga and Facebook.
These social media and tech billionaires are 6 degrees of Sean Parker.
For those of us who are not very tech savvy, what are other ways that we can make money and get on the Forbes list?
I think coffee.
Okay, that's directed at me.
Which we've been drinking a lot of in the past few days.
Yes, we have. I am a huge user of Bob Stiller's Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. I actually did a cover story on him more than a decade ago when he was worth less than $100 million. And so he got into the coffee business, and it's been going along very nicely, but then there was a deal announced in March, and overnight the stock perked up 40%, and he made it into the ranks of the Forbes 400 for the first time.
The Resnicks in Los Angeles, they actually have orchards and pistachio fields all over the United States. They also own the fancy Fiji waters that you've probably drunk, had over the years, and Palm Drinks. And Teleflora, they're really active in the art scene in California, very big contemporary art collectors.
So they're worth $2 billion together.
They're worth $2 billion together. Last year they were almost there, so they've done well.
What about our friend Bob Parsons?
I'm sure you've seen the GoDaddy.com commercials at the Super Bowl. They're always a little bit out there and loud.
With Danica Patrick?
Exactly. And I think the CEO is as out there and loud as the commercials. He's actually a really kind of American success story. This is a guy who flunked out of the 5th grade, then was in the Vietnam War, and is now worth $2 billion. And GoDaddy is it's the biggest sort of web server company out there.
We've been talking mostly about the new billionaires, the new members of the Forbes 400 who have tech fortunes. But there's actually others we didn't really get into. People with retailing, the folks from Forever 21, this guy Jim Justice who's got a coal fortune, and there's 2 brothers, the Wilkes brothers, who made money in an energy deal. So I think that points out that there's lots of ways to get on the Forbes 400. It doesn't just have to be tech. And so for anybody that's watching this, if you've got a great business idea, there's hope for you. You may someday be on the Forbes 400 too.